Let's take a look at item number 6 on our AT&T SEC Country Live First and 10 list. And, well, Danny Kanell, the one-time ESPN personality, former Florida State quarterback, a guy that over the years has been a little bit famous, I would say, as an SEC troll. I don't think that that's necessarily breaking new news to say that this is something that Kanell likes to do. He likes to rank other teams ahead of SEC teams, likes to pick on Bama. They've been at the top now for a while, and Kanell on Twitter, I'm not even sure where he's working these days, but in his latest iteration of kind of his top 8, has Alabama at number 1, but he says it's the worst resume in the top 10. So, Mike, I will ask you, as a guy who follows that Alabama resume pretty closely, is there something wrong with Alabama's credentials as the number 1 ranked team and a team fighting for a playoff spot?
I mentioned this last week. I hate when we hindsight schedules. Tell me what it was before the game. Florida State was the number 3 ranked team. By the way, Danny Kanell's alma mater, so maybe he has a little bit of inside info into noticing that Florida State hasn't been very good. It looks like a bad win now when you look back on it. They had DeAndre Francois for 3 quarters in that game, plus some change in the 4th quarter, and they didn't get it done. And then now that he's injured, they look really bad. And I think it's easy to hindsight that and say not a very good win. But I think the funniest part of it is you put Clemson right there at number 2, and they have a loss. And you're sitting there saying they have the best resume of the top 10 with a loss. I mean, I don't know how you kind of start to compare those two, and then Georgia right behind it. It's like, I'm not sure where he's going.
Yeah, what great thing has Clemson? Was the Louisville win give you a whole lot right now? No. Louisville's not the same team it was a year ago, not the same team we thought at the beginning of the season. And, here's the thing about Alabama. You can say what you want about the schedule the Crimson Tide has played up to this point, but they're winning every single one of these games by a wide margin. I mean, remember, the blip on the radar for Alabama this year is a road game at Texas A&M, a pretty good team, and they still won by more than a touchdown. We act like that's Alabama stubbing its toe in College Station. They won the thing by, 9 points, something like that?
Right. And listen, you're talking to a guy who went to Alabama. Obviously, I'm shaded that way, but I still think Alabama has holes. But, I mean, if we're going to talk about teams that have best or worst resume, I'm not listing them anywhere near this. I mean, I'm sorry for Danny Kanell, but if you're talking about Georgia beating Notre Dame on the road, a team who looks great right now after blowing out USC this past weekend, I'm just not sure where he's getting this information.
All right, it's AT&T SEC Country Live. AT&T, a proud sponsor of SEC Country Live. AT&T, entertainment your way. Let's check in Baton Rouge, Louisiana right now. Say hello to Alex Hickey, who covers the LSU Tigers for SECCountry.com. And Alex, before we talk about your team that you cover, LSU, let me bring you into the conversation we're just having. Does Alabama, up to this point, have to apologize at all for the schedule that it's played? Do you see a problem with that Crimson Tide resume when you look at it?
I mean, well, yeah, right now it's not what they expected. Obviously, Florida State's not the team they thought it would be. And if you look at Georgia, I mean, Notre Dame is way better than anybody thought that team would be. So if you were weighing those two against each other, there's no question the Dogs have had the better schedule at this point. Texas A&M is kind of the only decent team that they've played so far.
Yeah, that's probably a fair point. Let me shift gears and talk to you about the LSU win against Ole Miss from Saturday. And one of the things we got into on our show a little earlier, the kind of what seems to be an improved performance as of late from Darius Geis, the running back, and Arden Key, the linebacker, certainly against Ole Miss. Those 2 star players came up in a big way. Are these guys just more focused than they were early in the season? Are they healthier now? How do you explain why we're seeing more from Geis and Key now than we did earlier in the season?
Yeah, it's definitely health in the case of Darius Geis. He sprained his knee against Mississippi State, and he just hadn't been the same since. And he's still not 100%. He said so himself, but he's at least in the 80 to 90 range, I think, and that showed against Ole Miss. He definitely, if he was fully healthy 100%, I think he would have broken the 300-yard mark pretty easily in that game. With Arden Key, it's a little bit of injury, and I guess motivation might have played a role in it because he gained all that weight in the off season, and it looked like it obviously wasn't just muscle mass. So he's brought his weight back down closer to where he was last year, and his explosiveness is back. So yeah, those guys are getting into shape sort of from different perspectives at exactly the right time.